Well, Trump just blew past. He just the one thing that we'll have to say about him is he said, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and my people wouldn't give a shit. He actually is an adjudicated rapist on Fifth Avenue. A court of competent jurisdiction, a judge said by any common definition of the word rape, you raped that woman.
This is the dressing room one?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that may have happened, but I mean...
But a jury in a court said it did.
That fucking means nothing to me, because I know what they know, which is nothing. They know two people said two different things about something that happened in the 90s and of which there's no witnesses or tape.
Well, you know
so
what?
I can't, look, I hate Donald Trump as much as anybody, but I can't say for sure I just know that. Just because 9 people said they think that, I can't.
First of all,
but yes.
they had more evidence. In other words, yes. So she told me this happened.
What was the evidence?
Other people that she told contemporaneous with it.
Well,
which whatever. A jury said that, that he did.
What? You know more about this case than apparently I do, and maybe if I knew everything, I would be completely.
I know that a jury.
Yeah.
I tend to have more faith in most people. In juries, I think most of them really try to weigh what's there, and I do know that a jury. But now I get too technical here, but by a preponderance of the evidence,
right?
It's a little bit of a different standard in a criminal case. It's beyond a reasonable doubt.
I'm admitting I didn't know that there was like evidence.
Things got intense fast when Bill Maher and James Carville locked horns in a fiery on-air debate. The topic? The dramatic evolution of the Republican Party and the growing collapse of reason in American politics. Carville came out swinging, delivering a bold take. Not every Trump supporter is a racist, he said. But every racist seems to find a home in Trump's camp. That comment lit the fuse for a heated back and forth. Carville painted today's GOP as a far cry from its old business-first roots. Instead, he described a party overtaken by hardline nationalism, where figures like Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy raced to outdo Trump by catering to its most extreme wings. Maher didn't let the left off the hook either. He broadened the conversation, blasting the far left's obsession with ideological purity. In his view, the rigid mindset mirrors the same kind of tribal loyalty seen in the MAGA movement, just with different branding. Despite their different angles, both men found common ground on one troubling point. The state of political discourse is in serious decline. According to them, many Republicans now see Democrats as a bigger threat than hostile foreign powers like Russia. This heated exchange wasn't just entertainment, it was a spotlight on the ugly truth of today's politics, where loyalty often outweighs reason and meaningful dialogue is getting lost in the noise.
He's stupid and crazy, and they're two completely different things. And this is like the crazy part works for him because he's without a mechanism to edit or to pull back. So, as my friend Jimmy always says, insanity photographs. You can't take your eyes off him. Obviously, whenever they put him on TV, the ratings go through the roof, and that's why insane people are charismatic. You can't look away. So when he does all this, I mean, not just sexual stuff, but certainly the sexual stuff, it's like, I'm going to own. No one else in the world would even think of this as a strategy, and he has no strategy. It's just what he feels. He's all id. But to own that, to own being this kind of guy, and half the country likes it. Or at least it's not a deal breaker because they feel like it's honest.
At least he's honest. He says what he thinks. He doesn't have to. And the thing really like is he tells you it's okay if you hate other people. And he validates what that guy says. I like because he says what I think.
Well, he plays on the fact that his people think that your people hate them and look down on them and see them as deplorables. I mean, I think they think...
There's some truth to that.
Oh, there's a lot of truth.
And I'm as good a Democrat as the next person. But you hear this shit, so I don't know if we ever talked about this.
In today's divided political climate, Bill Maher and James Carville's recent exchange cut through the noise with a sharp and honest look at the state of public discourse in America. Their conversation wasn't just a debate, it was a wake-up call. Both commentators voiced concern over how tribalism has replaced thoughtful dialogue. These days, political beliefs act more like social passports, where even a slight deviation from the accepted script can get someone shunned. The days of respectful disagreement are quickly vanishing. Maher, who's long criticized extremism on both sides, warned that political engagement has become more about performance than persuasion. Instead of trying to win hearts and minds, many people now focus on scoring points with their own side, through virtue signaling and moral posturing. On the left, it shows up in rigid activism. On the right, it's about doubling down on nationalist talking points. Either way, the message is clear. Step out of line, and you're the enemy. Carville backed that up, noting that Americans are now more obsessed with ideological purity than with practical policy results. He pointed the finger at modern media, which often caters to partisan audiences rather than challenging them. News outlets, once known for hard facts and fair reporting, now fuel outrage to keep viewers glued to the screen. The result? Audiences are more fired up than informed. In this environment, compromise is seen as betrayal, opponents are treated like threats, and middle ground feels like no man's land. Maher and Carville both agree it's a dangerous path, but their conversation also posed a critical question. Is there a way back? Can the U.S. return to a time when political debate was about ideas and solutions, not personal takedowns? If democracy is going to survive and thrive, Americans must break out of their echo chambers and relearn how to listen. Real progress starts with uncomfortable conversations, not just with people who agree, but especially with those who don't.
Because there's a lot of pressure on me. Like, yes, that's your interior monologue. There's a lot of pressure on me because the FBI's looking into me for good reason. You don't say, so I invited the Russians in. I mean, like, it's so beyond it. This is not
the Russian ambassador showing him top secret shit. He was showing the guy at Bedminster. Look at these.
But I mean, he does one a day, or he did when he was president. Like something that only a nut would do. It's amazing to me that we lived through those 4 years, because when I look back on it, and of course the Trump people say, oh, you know, you have Trump derangement syndrome, and yeah, he blew up the world, right, Bill? I don't you know, you're right, he didn't blow up the world. I still think he could, okay? Is that completely crazy that I think a crazy person could blow up the world? No.
The shit that he did is like stunning.
I'm saying, no.
The documents case, if you stop and you think about it, like one time,
like I could read 1,000 tweets that are just insane that just went by. I remember there was one that said he was mad at China, and he said, I hereby, like he's the king, I hereby order all American companies to immediately, you know, work on a plan to change your, he was like ordering them to get out of China. I hereby order. And again, that's just insane that nobody else would even think to do that. But he doesn't think. That's his insanity and his attraction to people.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, history eventually finds out. They find this asshole Pius XII. They found the letter where they told him they were gassing.
The Pope during World War II?
Yeah. All right, we know from history he's been outed, I guess is what you would say.
Right.
Do you think, with all the history is known, would you guess that the Russians have compromise on Trump, or that's just liberal factors?
No, I have always said that the Russian hoax theory is a hoax. Plainly, there was something going on between Russia and Trump. It was not perhaps, first of all,
James Carville is no stranger to the ruthless chess game that is American politics. A battle-hardened strategist, he knows that in Washington, the enemies you make can be just as crucial as the allies you keep. In a political era where every stance is treated like a moral crusade, Carville brings a dose of raw truth. Politics isn't about being pure. It's about being effective. And to win, you've got to know exactly who's in your corner and who's trying to take you down. One of Carville's loudest warnings to Democrats: don't write off Donald Trump. Yes, Trump is surrounded by controversy, legal problems, divisive statements, and a scandal list that would sink most politicians. But somehow he keeps bouncing back. That's because Trump taps into something deeper, a sense of anger and abandonment felt by many Americans. These voters aren't moved by policy briefings. They're drawn to someone who says, I hear you, and I'm not one of them. Carville sees a critical mistake the Democrats keep making, treating Trump like a political fluke instead of a serious opponent. They've underestimated him before, and if they do it again, they could be in for another rude awakening on election night. The heart of Carville's critique is a deeper flaw within his own party, the obsession with ideological perfection. While some Democrats celebrate shifting demographics or check off progressive wins, Carville's focused on the bigger picture. He knows that winning isn't about proving you're the most righteous. It's about reading the room and adapting your strategy. Trump's strength doesn't lie in delivering results, it lies in rallying resentment. He thrives when he's painted as the underdog. The more enemies he has, the stronger his image as an outsider becomes, and that loyalty from his base doesn't waver. So what's Carville's message to Democrats? Stop assuming moral high ground wins elections. Start playing to win. Trump is beatable, but only if his opponents truly understand what keeps his movement alive. If not, history may repeat itself, and the shockwaves could be even bigger next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this deep dive into politics and power plays, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell so you're always up to date with the latest political breakdowns, debates, and commentary.